Hey, tech enthusiasts. Welcome to FocusChats, the ultimate blend of technology, fun, and education. I'm Becky Faith, your host on this thrilling ride. At FocusApps, we're all about the game-changing power of tech. And with FocusChats, we're handing you the tools to rock it. Let's get focused. Welcome to Focus Chats, the podcast where we dive into the world of software development and the amazing people behind it. I am your host, Becky Faith, and today joining me is our special guest, Gerrad Gentzel, a veteran software developer that has been with FocusApps for over 7 years. Welcome, Gerrad.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Before we jump into the meat of the podcast and the main questions, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in software development?
I didn't start my career as a software developer. I actually started off as a mechanical drafter. So I've worked in the manufacturing industry long time ago. And then I transitioned my passion, what I went to school for. I went to school for drafting and design, and then um, I got my bachelor's actually in game development because that
Okay.
was a passion of mine. I loved video games as a kid. I was around when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out in the
Yes.
80s. I'm dating myself pretty hard here. But yeah, it's something I've always really enjoyed. And so I began to explore code because I wanted to make video games. And while I don't get to make video games professionally now, I still do it some, but it showed me how much I enjoy writing code and how much I enjoy that creative problem solving. And so I made the transition into, you know, learning how to enter this world, and it's been an amazing ride, and I've been at it for about 10 years now, and wouldn't change a thing. Love
Well,
it.
I can attest you do an incredible job from
Thank
all
you.
of us at Focused Apps.
Well, I just do my best every day.
That's what we all try to do for sure. Um, you've been with Focused Apps for 7 years, and that is quite a tenure for the tech world. What is it about Focused Apps that has kept you engaged and motivated this long?
So Focused Apps is a really special place. It was founded by two of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met in my life. I'm proud to say that they are um, two people that I'm incredibly proud to work for. They care about us as people.
Yes.
They care about us as well, they care about us as people, and then they care about our clients. I
Mhm.
think in a way that maybe some other companies don't. We really are excited here about pushing the envelope, trying new things, and just offering um, a good product and a good value for our customers. When I came on, we were doing a lot of really cool stuff, and we've continued to do so. We're not afraid to dive in and try
That's
something, and we're
great.
lean enough that we can afford to sort of push the envelope and be creative and explore new possibilities, and so it's an exciting place to work, and I think our company and our founders really have a good handle on
I
what it
agree.
takes to be competitive and successful in
Yes.
in the tech world.
Yep, I agree with you, Jared. One thing that I love about them too is that they allow you to be yourself and show all of your good sides. They trust in you to do your job. They don't micromanage. They believe in you and they guide you. And I love that because they're saying, I hired you, I trust you, I like you, I know that you can do the job, and they help also to continue your education and your certifications, which, you know, I haven't experienced that in other places that I've worked, and I really do respect that. They're just very good people. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, they they get that uh, investing in your people is going to pay
Yes,
dividends for your business, and
absolutely.
so that really a good mindset.
Yeah, when
for
you love where you work, you have a tendency to work harder and better, and you believe in all of the vision and mission and purpose that they have, and you work together as a team. And I love it. I really do. So I understand where you're coming from.
yeah.
Now let's get into the meat of the podcast, where I think this just shows some exceptional things about you. Um, I just wanted to talk about some unexpected productivity hacks. What's an unconventional productivity hack that has significantly improved your workflow?
One thing that I noticed pretty early on in my career, maybe not early on, but about 10 years ago, was that not all hours of the day are equal, at least for me. Um, I found that I'm not as effective at certain tasks during certain parts of the day. So I've made attempts to sort of structure my workday to rely upon that. So, for instance, late afternoon is a better time for me to actually write code. Sitting in meetings in the morning, that's
Mhm.
kind of what we default to as a company, and that's my brain's not really spun up completely yet at that point. So it's a good time to you know. Go through requirements and make sure we're aligned on what we're doing, and then late afternoons reserved for actually outputting code. And there's times when I'll work into the evening if I need to, just because my mind's working, and
Sure.
um it's I feel like it's better to forego maybe working earlier if I'm not going to be effective, to putting it off a little bit later when I can really focus and hunker down. And that's backed by, I think, psychology too. I
Mhm.
think I probably was prompted by that several years ago, reading something. I was like, oh, I should try that out.
I think it's interesting that you say that because I think what that is learning about who you are as a
Yeah.
person and what when you're most productive.
Yep.
Um, and I'm the opposite. I'm morning, and then I kind of tire out about 2 o'clock, and I've done all my talking and all my calling and all my doing, and then in the afternoon, I'm doing like follow up emails where I'm not really having to do a lot of communication. So learning about yourself and the having experience and all that is I think really important as you go along in life, and it makes you a better person. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Another thing that I found too that's been really helpful, for myself and for working with others too is, and it kind of ties into that, what we've been talking about is, different people have different cognitive abilities,
Hmm.
or different sorts of intelligences. So some people are really good at certain tasks, and some people aren't
Right.
good at certain tasks, and you're good at certain tasks at certain part of the days, and people have
Hmm.
different roles and they do different part of their brains. And so to that end, I find it useful to try to understand what I'm good at,
Hmm.
and what others are good at, and then we can lean on each other's strengths and
Yes.
supplement each other's weaknesses. And that's an explosive way to increase your productivity.
Yeah.
I think just really understanding what you're good at. We work in teams for a reason. We're
Right.
not all good at everything. So
Very
really
good.
leaning in on your team and leaning in on and it's easy to do that at Focused Apps because we
Mhm.
we have a good team. Tying back to what we talked about before, I think
Yeah.
everybody here really is invested, and we work really well together, and we're all really passionate about what we do here, and it's we get a lot of stuff done when we're
Yes.
dialed in. So
Yep.
it's yeah.
I agree. I agree. Let's talk about defining a great engineer. What's one trait that separates top tier engineers from the rest, and why?
So there's a quote that I frequently I frequently misquote, but I wrote it down for this, so I'm going to read it to you. It's by Linus Torvalds, which, for those of you that don't know, he's the creator of Linux operating system. He's he's very highly regarded in the software development circle. But he has a quote: um, "Bad programmers worry about the code. Good programmers worry about data structures and their relationships." And so, what that means is, a lot of times as a junior, I see they're very concerned about, the code that they're writing, and is the code, um, you know is my code clever? Am I doing cool new innovative
Right.
things? Things like that, and those are good things to think about.
Mhm.
But what really is important, and really um, what we need to try to do in software development is think about our data from the very beginning. And when I say data, what I mean is, like, as a business, what are you trying to do?
Mhm.
That's something that I find myself
Yeah.
asking other engineers, or the client directly sometimes when I'm speaking to them. They'll say that they're having issues and they want to implement this solution that they've thought of, and it's like, my first question is always, may I ask what you're trying to achieve? Because a lot of
Right.
the times we kind of get blinded into,
Mhm.
we come up with an idea and it's like, oh, this is my idea. It's my beautiful baby idea. And I love it so much. And then
Right.
we kind of get blinders, and we're dead set on that. And sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I frequently will ask people, what do you think about what I'm doing here? And effective people that I work with, and this is most everybody we work with, they'll tell me, oh, what you're doing there isn't going to work because you're not thinking about this, and you're not thinking about this, and that's not going to work for the business. Uh,
Okay.
and so this is all, and it's becoming really amplified as we have started to move away from these monolithic systems.
Mhm.
Used to be 5, 6, 7 years ago, we'd write one code base, and it was one thing, and it just ran on one resource. And now we've moved to where these things are distributed across systems, like Azure or
Mhm.
AWS. We have distributed models, cloud computing, and this allows us to scale up effectively, but it allows us to be more lean. There's a lot of benefits to it, but it becomes really, 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 really imperative that we really understand the business process and really understand the
Mhm.
data that we're trying to push through these systems, as the complexity of these systems can grow through distributed models.
That makes sense to me. I mean, I agree with you 100%. The coding is awesome too, but understanding the data and everything you need to do with it will help you with the coding. I would assume, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, having good requirements at the beginning is step one, and I find that getting involved, early, trying to understand, getting things architected,
Mhm.
answering as much questions as we can at the beginning,
Yep.
that really sets us up for success. And that's what it's about. We're
Mhm.
not just slinging code, right? And
Right.
that's something another mark of, a good engineer is you understand that, while, yeah, your job is to technically write code, it really, what we're doing, and especially here at Focused Apps, is we are trying to deliver a solution to our clients that's going to allow them to have success in business. uh,
Absolutely.
and,
Yep.
and that's our job at
Yep.
the end of the day.
Very good. Very good. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about software development, technology, all of those things, as we know. What is the biggest myth about software development that you'd love to debunk?
This is something that, um, eh, I've noticed for a long time. I taught college at one point for a few years, and I saw it a lot with my students. Into because I taught technical, I taught drafting because I was a drafter, and then I taught drafting while I was retraining, and so I taught students how to use these professional softwares to solve business solutions in, the manufacturing industry or the architectural industry. But one thing I noticed was, early back, this is, you know 12, 13 years ago, I noticed that people, they tend to think that software and computers think like we do.
Mhm.
I mean, how many times have you hear it all the time? Somebody will do something on their phone and they'll go, "Why won't this stupid thing just do what I want?" And it's like,
Right.
because it wasn't programmed to do that. And
Right.
so, this is it's getting better, I think. But something that I saw happen a lot, we had OpenAI come out with ChatGPT, and then everybody, and we're going to talk a lot about AI through this
Yes.
interview. But AI was something that was hyped.
Yeah.
It was like blockchain. But
Right.
you heard about blockchain. Everybody's like, we need to implement blockchain, and we saw the same thing happen a lot with AI. I'm seeing companies get better, but we want to throw all these AI solutions at everything, and because there was this impression, you started using chat, we all jumped on and tried it, and we started using it, and the first time you use it, you're like, this thing's
Yeah.
alive. Like, what
Yes.
in the world? This thing is alive and thinking, but it really isn't.
Right.
It doesn't think. It doesn't have omniscient knowledge of the universe. It is it's only as good as what we've trained it to do.
Right.
um and so, but it's cool, and
Mhm.
it's of course been hyped up a lot, and people, I've seen some business leaders and decision makers think that it was something that was just going to come in and be a silver bullet that was going to
Right.
fix everything for them, and it's frequently not a good fit. We're There's a lot of downsides to using it, and
Yes.
it's really important to understand when you should implement it.
And I think too, what we're finding is that we've talked about just using your common sense and reading through it and understanding that it's not always right. And from things that I've listened to on podcasts, and one thing that stood out the most is, and I try to teach my kids is that it's okay to ask, is that is that right? Is prove it to me, type of thing. Is that correct? And with AI. So
Yeah, and that's absolutely right, because it does get things wrong frequently. These models are getting better. The early models had a lot of problem with
yes.
what they call uh, hallucinating. They just make things up sometimes.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that so badly lately. The models
right.
have
It's
gotten
better.
good,
It definitely is better.
but yeah, it's really important, though, I think, for businesses when dealing with AI. You really got to have a good idea of what your business strategy is what you're trying to achieve,
Mhm.
um, and having making sure you have good data before you even come to the table,
Right.
and that you have good data strategies moving forward, because at the end of the day, these things are completely reliant upon the data that you're
Yep.
feeding them. And if you have bad data, incomplete data, you're you're not going to get the
Lie in
result.
the beginning.
Right.
Right.
You've kneecapped yourself right at the beginning. That's
Right.
exactly right. So yeah, just I if I could make everybody in the world understand, I would say that understanding that these things have limits, and they're not magic, and it's something that has to be worked with to get the results you want.
I do want to ask you this question. Do you, just your opinion about like businesses in general, what is the first thing they might want to do with AI in their business? before going, full blown. Let's do all of this. What would make most sense for them to try out? What is it about the data first, cleaning
That's,
the data, scrubbing the data, and then pulling the data?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, verifying your data is step one.
Okay.
Verifying that. Um, I've seen clients who've wanted to throw a machine learning, AI solution at uh, uh, at a problem, and their data was not where it should have been, and it 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 was a challenge. And so, yeah, ensuring the data is correct is incredibly important, because if you put bad data into it, it's just gonna give you bad answers, because that's
Right.
that's what you taught it.
Yeah.
Um, and as far as dipping their toes in and trying things out, um, yeah, I mean, really analyze and work with your technical people to understand, like, is this a good use for AI?
Okay.
Because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive to train these models. It's expensive to run these models. And when I say expensive, I mean it costs you money physically, but it also utilizes a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to be a pretty big point of contention with some governments soon. You're
Absolutely.
you're going to ask me a question in a bit,
Yes.
and I'll talk more about that.
Yeah. We are. We are. Very good. I agree. I think the first thing that, and that's when I approach customers about AI and they ask me about it, I do talk to them about their data and making sure that that data is correct.
Yeah,
Scrubbing that data and getting that, to where it's right from the beginning, instead of having to go through that process and then be freaked out that you have all this information that's not right. So you have to
yeah.
start back over again. So, yeah, absolutely. Very good. Let's talk about some of the toughest challenges and lessons learned throughout the years. What is the hardest software problem you've ever solved? And in that time, what did it teach you?
The toughest challenges are always communication. I know that's not the fun, exciting tech answer that some people might have expected, but um, when you're starting out and you're learning these stacks and you're learning these languages, you know, all that stuff's really exciting, and some of those things might, seem really intimidating. But as you progress up your career and you become more competent and you understand, these systems and coding, and how these languages work, those engineering challenges, just the actual technical implementations become, uh, I don't want to say trivial, but they become less severe. And then not having good communication and not having good requirements from the beginning is one of the things that I would say that every time I've failed, or come close to failing, it's because I didn't have all the information I needed to
Yep.
solve the problem. And so, getting alignment with our stakeholders,
Hmm.
and communicating and understanding, again, what are you trying to solve? What are you trying to do here? I don't need you to tell me that, you know I, well, I need a Cosmos database that does this and this and this and this. No, I want you to tell me what your business need, and
Right.
you can tell me
Yeah.
your ideas. We can talk about those for sure. I don't want to
Right.
exclude anybody, but the number one question I want to know is, what is your business need, and what are you trying to do? And then,
Absolutely.
what are the things surrounding that I need to understand to know that we're going to be successful? um, Early collaboration
Yes.
is key to solving these things, and making sure that we're not wasting our time and our clients money by writing code that doesn't do what they want, because
Right.
we started off thinking we needed to build a Mustang, and all we really needed was a bike,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
Very good. And that comes from the first. in the beginning of the process with sales as well for me. What I try to install is the value that we bring to the table, and to me, that value is our first phase, which is passing it off to our developers, PMs, and everyone that's going to be sitting in a room. I mean, I have customers that give us requirements. They have 2 3 pages worth of requirements, and that's awesome that you have those, and we want that. But in that first phase, that's sitting down and collaborating and asking deep questions about what it is that you want to accomplish is really what it's all about, and having that communication with one another and working together. And I what we try to say, and you all as well, across the team, is partnership. This is a partnership, and to have a good partnership and a successful project to go smooth and roll out and give it exactly what you want, we have to communicate with one another. You have to be involved and collaborate with one another, and it is communication is key. That is, and I've been and all my life and in work and relationships and parenting and all that, communication is key. And so we really strive hard to do that. And I know that you all do. And I think that's what makes our process successful with our customers, because um, sometimes they get a little frustrated because we have to collaborate and do all those things. We're not just going to pass, you're not going to just pass us the requirements and we're not going to ask you any questions. We're going to build it and you're going to be like, there it is. And you're going to be like, oh no, we don't want that. We want, each step to, exactly what's going on, and that we're building towards your dream and and what you're trying to accomplish. So very good. And I agree 100%.
Frequent check-ins, align requirements. Yeah. And communication's hard. It's
It
something
is.
people really struggle with. It
Yep.
probably is the root of most human struggle, is
Yep.
just bad communication. There's another silly quote. It's the biggest misconception about communication is that communication happened.
Right.
Yeah, you think you relayed a piece of information and the
Yeah.
person got something completely different out of it. So, yeah, checking in and making sure we're aligned frequently is a good
Absolutely, and
thing
I think we
to
try to do that across the
do.
board, and
Yeah,
sometimes we miss the mark. I could be there'd be 3 people sitting in front of you, and you could be communicating to all 3 of us, and all 3 of us could look at it completely different. So you have to kind of back up and say, okay, now does everybody understand exactly what we're trying to do here? And that
yeah,
is okay to do. It's better to be all on the same page than one of us going, well, I thought that was this. It's always good to check in on it for sure.
absolutely. And that's great because it just shows the diversity of the human mind.
That's right.
We all heard the same thing and we all thought something different.
Hmm.
And if we all make sure all our voices are heard, then we can get all those perspectives. And
Absolutely.
it's again playing into people's strengths and tapping into the potential of people.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and that's just communication.
Yep. Okay, the future of technology. If you had to bet on one emerging technology that will transform businesses in the next 5 years, what would it be and why?
Um, so I'm going to talk about two. I'm going to cheat.
That's
Um,
great.
AI, obviously,
Yeah.
it's exploded. It's just going to keep going.
Mm.
We're kind of in, believe it or not, we're still kind of in the infancy of it. I believe.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think that we're going to see um, some systems as we refine these models and they become smarter, able to process in more efficient ways.
Mhm.
We're going to see some really cool stuff come out of that.
Okay.
It's going to be groundbreaking for every industry,
Yep.
but particularly medical,
Mhm.
um, things like that, engineering. We're really going to see a lot of benefit for humanity by relying on these systems. That
Mhm.
being said, I think it's going to be important for business leaders to, again, really analyze, do you need an AI solution here? Could conventional coding work here? Because I anticipate over particularly the next 5 years that we're going to start seeing quite a bit of pushback from from world governments
Yep.
about how we're utilizing AI,
Hmm.
um, mainly because of the energy draw.
Yep.
Um, there's a lot of ethical concerns too about data collection and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, we have to be realistic about that. We have to be honest about that. Um,
Yes.
there are some problems with that. Um, I'm not sure if it's a sort of cat's out of the bag sort of situation, but um, we'll see. But the energy consumption is, I think, something that we're already seeing regulatory pushback from the
Yes.
EU, and I think that's going to intensify with uh, global warming being a priority for a lot of these governments. I think that this is AI consumes massive amounts of energy.
Hmm.
And so that's something that the engineers producing these products are going to have to consider is how do they make their models more energy efficient,
Hmm.
and the so that AI
Hmm.
is going to keep pushing forward and it's going to keep evolving. I think that in 5 years it will be uh, I won't say it'll be unrecognizable, but I think it will be something. It'll be very different than what we're dealing with right now. I think
Okay.
it'll be smarter, potentially more restrained in some ways, but we'll
More
see.
regulated. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it'll be more regulated, and so that's something that decision makers are really going to need to consider as they roll these solutions out.
I know that just going and being involved in the Kentucky Manufacturing Association and traveling around and networking to the different counties in Kentucky, that is the top two things that they're discussing at state level is energy due to AI
Yeah,
and how they're going to, you know, work that out and how they're going to handle it and what they're going to do. So it is definitely on the radar and number one things that they're talking about. They don't
yeah,
have to address.
it's
So
a big concern. We've had an energy problem. We're on
absolutely,
the verge of an energy crisis,
yes,
and
yep,
this is pushing that even further forward. So
yep,
we're going to have to solve those problems somewhere, and we will. I know
yep,
we will.
absolutely. I think we will
We
too.
do. We solve these problems. I think we do. And one of the things that the other piece of emerging technology I really think to keep an eye on, and I think it's going to help a lot with this, is quantum computing.
Okay.
It's kind of a new way for it's a whole new architecture for how data is processed, but it's going to open up a huge amount of possibilities. Um, Honestly, it's going to be a pretty big paradigm shift. It's not going to completely replace the the computing we do now,
Hmm.
but it's definitely going to unlock the potential. I think it's going to unlock the potential of AI.
Okay.
Um, with because AI requires a lot of data interpolation, and that's sort of one of the benefits of quantum computing, as far as I understand it.
Mhm.
It the way it processes data is allows it to process large amounts of data.
And does
Uh,
that help on the energy side as
it
well?
it
Mhm.
should, yeah, I think so because it's going to be dramatically more efficient for certain tasks.
Okay.
Um, so I think it's going to revolutionize AI and also encryption. They're already using it to do some pretty cool stuff with encryption. But I think business leaders, I think you guys should, for those of you listening, I think you should pay attention to quantum computing.
Mhm.
I think um,
Do
there's
some research, read up on it, get familiar with it
for
and
sure.
understand.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some commercially available units for about 10 years now, but I don't know how viable they've been. But I know I've read recently Google is saying that they're going to have viable commercial units available within the next 5 years, and that's gonna we're gonna see some.
To drive that for sure, I think.
I can't quite predict what we're gonna see happen exactly, but I feel like it's gonna be big. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be something really, really big, but I'm not quite sure what.
But very good, Jared. This is great information. And we just for those that are out there and wanting to know more, is just go out and research it, ask questions, find out about it, and we all work towards that goal of helping the energy crisis for sure. With it, since we're going to be using AI, you know.
Absolutely, hit us up. We'd be happy to answer
Absolutely,
all your questions and
yes,
maybe make a deal.
right, absolutely. We want that for sure. Um, I know that AI has helped change some things for me in sales. How has AI impacted the way you work as a developer?
Dramatically. It tools, we've got tools now like called Copilot, and we're seeing
Mhm,
Copilots pop up in everything. But
mhm,
originally, when I think Copilot, it's a code tool that it's been out for a while now, but it really has exploded with Chat GPT and things like that. But it's I write less code. I manually type out less code. A lot of the times, I will describe the issue to the LMM, to the model,
mhm.
and it will generate code for me, and um, that's really beneficial.
Sure.
It's improved, but you kind of have to balance that with being cognizant of you can't just take what it's giving you, because
Right.
it does make mistakes, and it
Yep.
it may fix your problem in the way that you don't want it to, or things like that. So it's again, it's not a silver bullet. It's not just something that we just, yep, that's great, and we let's ship it.
Mhm.
We still have to keep an eye on it, but it's dramatically changed. I mean, just in the 2 years that I've been using it now, it's completely changed how I work.
So does it
Completely.
time? It helps you with time and building the code and
Yeah.
yes,
Frequently, 5 years ago, I might spend, a whole day building out boilerplate code, or just skeletoning something out, and now I can get it done in an hour and that frees me up to again think about the data. I'm not having to think
mhm,
about the code as much.
right.
I can think about the data, and I can think about the solutions, and I can think about how we're distributing things across the network, and that's going to be how it's going to, and for young people looking to get into the industry, I think that's how it's probably going to be moving forward. I think we're going to see ourselves physically writing less and less code, and these models will generate the code for us. Potentially within 10 years, it may not even generate code. It may just, I don't know, this is kind of weird, but it may start generating direct machine code. But
Okay.
I don't know about. That's a
Right.
little weird.
But that's
But
things that you're that
yeah,
you're looking forward and what could happen. It's amazing. It's amazing.
everything's moving super fast.
Yes.
It can be hard to pin things down, but
Mhm.
I can definitely say that um, if you're not if you're not on the AI train, you should think about paying attention if you want to continue to be successful in the professional world, because it's
Yeah.
it's seeping into everything. And um, I understand the energy concerns. I understand the ethical concerns. I have those concerns
Yep.
too.
Yep.
But
Me too.
it's here.
Mhm.
It's we're using it. Um, we need to let it not be for naught,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
I think we need to learn to. This is kind of going back to when we were younger. Is proofreading the work,
yeah,
proofreading and knowing that it's not always 100% right. We have to respect that and know that and respect what we're trying to put out there. So going back over it, making sure that it's right, even though it's doing it faster and it's awesome. We
Yeah.
just need to, I have to do that on my side. I love it. I think it's incredible.
Me too.
But I also know that sometimes when I read it, I'm like, oh, well, that's
Yeah.
not right, or I need to change that, or just proofread it and respect yourself in that sense.
Yeah, and two, another thing that I think people would do a favor to themselves by, even though we can rely on it all the time, not
Not
relying on
to
it all the
right.
time, because
Use your own brain.
yeah, because I did notice that I was relying on it maybe a little bit too heavily, and I noticed that I was sort of forgetting how to do things, and I was like, "Oh, I need to take a step back. I need to
Right.
I could have, Copilot generate this for me, but I'm going to write this myself
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
because
Challenge yourself.
I
Challenge
need
yourself.
yeah, and I need to make sure that those things stay fresh, because I still need to understand it.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have to do it, I need to understand it.
Yeah.
I need to be able to understand what's going on. That's going to
That
be
comes with communication too. If you understand and you need to understand it, then you'll be able to teach it,
yep,
communicate it,
yep,
but if you're letting something else do it for you, it's hard to, if you get real involved in it, then like you said, you forget, you're not
yeah,
quite as sharp on it. You make mistakes, and
yep,
so yes, I agree.
yeah.
Very good.
Brains are like a muscle; they can atrophy, so it's important to stay sharp.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's very good. Um, in software development, a lot of times I don't think people realize that they're creative,
yeah,
creative people. So,
yeah.
how does creativity play a role in your approach to coding?
I consider. I mean, and I have a. We talked about my background a little bit. I have kind of a diverse background. Um, at my heart, I'm a creative person. I thought in high school that I was going to go work for Walt Disney drawing cartoons, um, and then that didn't pan out. But that's okay.
That's
Um,
yeah.
but at my heart, I'm a creative person, and so I really do believe that writing code is a creative process.
Do you think creative is something where you think outside of the box more
Yeah,
when you're creative?
yeah, yeah. I do. I think it's about thinking outside of the box, and I try to excel at that.
Mhm.
That's something I try to force myself to think of new solutions.
Very good.
And it's being creative is and you have to balance it with pragmatism. We don't want to be so creative that we create something ridiculous that doesn't
Right.
work, and or but creativity, I think, is important in coding because it can allow us to look for different solutions that
Very
might
good.
be a better
Yes.
solution, might be a more elegant
Mhm.
solution. Sometimes these problems are extremely complicated, and I've seen some devs, they'll get thrown a problem and they'll go, well, it just we can't do it. And I'll look at the same problem and I'll be like, well, it could be done. We could do
Yes.
this and this and this and this. And they go, well, but that doesn't work. That's crazy and that's not been done. And it's like, well, let's try it.
That's right. That's fun.
You throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks, and within reason.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I really do encourage everybody I work with to try to experiment, try new things, try new codes, try new design paradigms, try something you might not have tried.
Mhm.
You'll learn something every time. You might learn
Right.
that it's a great solution, or you might learn, boy, that was a terrible solution. We should never do that again. But
Yeah.
you'll learn something,
Yeah.
and that's valuable, right?
Yeah. So just kind of segue into the question I have about the evolution of learning and development. How has your approach to learning changed over time? Do you think that you used to be where you are now, or has that changed?
No, I mean, it's my approach to learning now is a lot more Well, I used to consume everything. I was the guy um, who went and I wanted to learn everything, and I learned. I don't know. I I learned probably 15 languages, when I
It's
was starting out.
amazing.
I just went but I didn't. It sounds amazing, but if you were to press me on any of those, if you were to press me on 13 of those languages, I'd be like,
Mm,
I could tell you the fundamentals of it, but I couldn't tell you any kind of deep knowledge about it. So,
yeah.
um,
Do you
specializing.
think that was a waste, or do you think
No,
that
no, no, I don't think it was a waste um, because I think that, you know, um, just prioritizing the fundamentals. I think that's a trap a lot of junior developers, people starting out fall into. They want to go and learn every new technology. They want to learn everything. They want to learn every
right?
system and every coding language, and they just want to learn all the stuff. And it was useful. It was a useful experiment because through that process, I learned that even though these things on a surface level look completely different,
Mhm.
they're the same. So
Okay.
like a Corvette
Mhm.
looks completely different than a Fiat.
Right.
They're the same thing. When you take off the body and
Yeah.
you take off all the aesthetics, it's an engine and it's four wheels.
Right.
And that's coding. These things are all kind of doing the same thing. So
Okay.
once I figured that out, I stopped being obsessed with like, well, I need to go learn C, or I need to go learn JavaScript, or I need to go learn Perl, or I need to go learn, COBOL, or those are all really old languages. I
Right.
just, but I learned that I should study patterns, and
Okay.
I should study, design patterns, focus on data flow, focus on how systems are distributed, things like that. So,
Okay.
um, understanding, what we're doing and the nature of it versus being really hyper focused on the intricacies and the technicalities, because and this is going to be very important as we move forward with
Mhm.
AI, because
Yeah.
AI, like I said, it's in 5 to 10 years, we as engineers may not be writing a lot of code. We'll
Right.
be writing system prompts to have the AI generate the code. And if you haven't focused on your fundamentals, if you don't, understand
Very
good
good.
design,
Mhm.
you're going to struggle with that. Um, so yeah, I would say I focus now on understanding patterns, understanding, industry trends, what worked for other people, what doesn't work for other people, and experimenting and trying to keep that creativity. I
Mhm.
think those are
Very
um,
good.
at this stage much more important for me as an engineer.
Yeah. And I think they should listen because you you do a great job, and you've got a lot of experience, good experience. Let's talk about avoiding unnecessary AI adoption. Um, what's one change you believe every business in your industry, or yeah, in the industry, should be preparing for?
Again, tying back to AI, I think that we need to be, because it's the new hotness.
Hmm.
Everybody's I'm watching every major tech firm, and I'm watching Facebook, and I'm watching Google, and I'm watching all these guys, and they're just putting AI in everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, even I don't use it very much. I try to limit my social media intake, but you go to like Facebook, and it's like, hey, have Meta help you write your post, and it's like, why?
No.
Why is that there? Um, it's frequently a waste of money right now.
Okay.
Um, I've watched, and I'm not saying it's any of our clients,
Right.
but I've watched companies burn what I probably think is millions of dollars on solutions that probably could have been fixed with a simple script.
Mhm.
But they got stars in their eyes about the new hotness, and I get it's a marketing thing. Oh, we've got AI solutions in our product,
Right.
and for some people that's very compelling, and for some
Mhm.
people that's a turn off.
Mhm.
But from a business standpoint, it's expensive to run these things. It's expensive
Mhm.
to develop these things, and really need to be hyper focused on understanding how AI can drive value for your company.
Very good.
It, like I said, I mean, because it's expensive, and another thing that people maybe don't talk enough about. You hear it in tech circles, but um, I don't know if layman's talk know so much. But it's introducing security vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
These there actually are challenges. They're like games, but online. But you can. It's called prompt injection,
Okay.
and you can trick the system into uh, ignoring its training. Um,
Okay.
Sometimes very easily. These things are limited, and the security vulnerabilities are something that they haven't really started to rear their head yet. But as we tie these AI assistants more to actual business processes,
Mhm.
um, these are going to become dangerous. And that's something that a lot of people may not realize, that hackers and scammers are very good at social engineering. That's actually how most successful attacks happen.
Yes.
Is a scammer picks up a phone and calls somebody and pretends to be somebody they're not,
Right.
and kind of bullies the person on the phone a little bit and ends up getting in.
Yeah.
And then once they're in, it's
That's
GG.
it.
you're
Yep.
you're you're done. And so it's almost like automating that vulnerability to a degree. So I know that the engineers are working hard to harden these things,
Mhm.
but we do need to still be cognizant of what we're tying these
Yeah.
things to.
I was going to say, I think that what we can say is that we're staying up, up on top of the, educating ourselves. And um, when we have customers that come in and want to implement AI into their business, we want to be able to try to educate them and
Yeah.
steer them in the right direction. And like you said, because it is expensive, it can be detrimental to their business security, issues,
Oh,
and so we need to um, just that's what we try to do, because it's important for us, for customers when they come to us, is to know the pros and the cons of doing it. Yes, we want you to get involved in this, but we also want to help educate you and understand why we're going to go in this direction instead of that direction, and why we need to do this now, and that and to also let them know that it's going to change. It's going to change. I mean, wouldn't you think? I mean,
absolutely.
because we're in the early stages. So just,
Yeah.
be open minded as customers and people that are trying to implement AI, that work with people that are very concerned about your business and you implementing AI into it, and that they explain the pros and the cons, and not just, yeah, sure, whatever you want to do, you know,
Sure, we'll take your money.
we
Yeah,
care,
exactly.
work with people that truly care about your business, especially with AI, and
Yeah.
everything, but AI now, because of like you said, security issues, and not and that it is going to change, and it is an investment, a
Yeah.
large investment.
Yeah. I think that the companies moving into the future that are going to be the most successful with AI adoption are the ones that just focus on doing it in a practical, business driven way. Like, we're not just throwing a shiny AI coat of paint on everything because it's hype.
Just because it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I see a lot of companies doing that,
Yeah,
"Oh, can we
yeah,
put AI in this?" Well, no, you could, but you're gonna waste your money,
right.
and, you know, that's not what we want to do for our
Right.
company.
We're going to be transparent. Now, if you want to do it,
Yeah,
but we're going to let you know why,
yeah,
maybe ask questions why, and maybe consult
yeah,
you in a different direction that will help benefit your business even more.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Communication and project success. Let's talk a little bit more about that. And tell me a time when failure led to your biggest professional breakthrough.
So the times in my career when I failed, it's been because just communication wasn't in place. So I, you know, technical challenges come up. We have failure sometimes there because we overlooked something, or but the really big screw ups have always been because we were just missing something, and it, we didn't get it in our requirements, or something came out during the process, or something changed, but
Mhm,
communication wasn't in place.
mhm.
I'd say 90% of major project failures probably come from
Sure.
um, lack of communication in our engineering teams,
Mhm.
um, surfacing issues as soon as we know they're going to be an issue,
That's right.
um,
Yes.
becoming more vocal for clear requirements. Those are things that we should focus on.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned that you had learned something before about being, when there is something that's breaking or has been broke, being proactive about that and quickly getting to it. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So I went to business school, and found out that that wasn't really something that I was suited for. But during that time, I took a project management class, and a couple of the takeaways that really stuck with me was the instructor emphasized, bad news early. Was
Mhm.
something he said. You want to give people bad news as quickly as you can, because it gives you a chance to pivot.
Sure.
So recognizing, that there's a problem, coming up with a solution,
Mhm.
presenting the solution. I've always had a lot of success with just being really upfront about the facts and not sugarcoating things, but also leveraging that with having a solution, right?
Yeah.
Not just
Instead of
not
just running
throw-
and going, hey, there's a problem, and not even looking into it at all. Right.
right, or throwing up a roadblock and saying, "Well, that's a problem, and we can't do that, and I'm not going to think about it." No, it's like, no,
Right.
let's think about the problems. Yeah, and then just another thing that really struck me about that class was just really understanding the triangle of, the he called it the iron triangle. I don't know what the technical term is, but your scope, cost, and time triangle. Like, you pick two, right? Like, you can have good code fast, but it's going to cost you a fortune,
Mhm.
right? It's things like that. So just
Sure.
understanding your priorities, and understanding, business needs, and understanding, reality of what the development, you know, life cycle's like. Um,
Mhm.
the times when that hasn't been in place, is when I've really seen us struggle.
Sure.
Um,
But
uh,
we've learned from those mistakes and continue to do that because it's going to happen. I mean, we try to be perfect.
yeah,
We really do. But communication is hard.
yeah,
And that's really the number one thing that kind of gets in the way, like we've talked about before.
yeah,
But I love the idea of if there is an issue, try to acknowledge it
yeah,
and get a solution, and then go and say, hey, let's move forward with we can do it one or two ways, and then being honest with the customer,
yeah,
saying, hey, we've ran into, and I've always been taught, and I believe this, and appreciate it when people do it for me,
yeah,
is just let me know. Let me know, and it saves all the pain and frustration and the finger pointing and everything else that goes
yeah,
along with that when you run and hide from
yeah,
the issue of communicating a problem, that can be fixed, but
yeah.
we want to let you know that, hey, this happened, and then we solved it.
Yeah,
you know
all problems grow in the dark.
that's
They just
right.
things get bigger when you ignore them.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's and it's getting in front of that, and also, don't. don't just come with your hat in your hand and
Mhm.
be like, "Oh gosh, we messed up and we don't know what to do." You know,
Right.
like sometimes that happens, but
Yeah.
it should be really, really, really rare.
Mhm.
Come with a solution. Be solution oriented. Be
Yeah.
solution focused. That's what I really try to strive for, and
And
I
have
try.
confidence that you can
Yeah,
fix it. You
yeah,
know, I mean, you know.
yeah. No, I think the biggest advice that I could give to a CTO if they care to listen is, um, I mean, lack of communication is your quickest way to just burn millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Um, Prioritize clear technical communication in
Yeah.
your teams. Uh,
Mhm.
I think if you do that, if you demand clear communication and you foster that kind of environment in your teams, I think you're gonna move products faster. You're gonna move better products faster for less.
Yes, very
Um,
good.
yeah,
Absolutely. That's so true. Very true. Um, if everybody, if we can all do that, it'd be awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Um, quote talking about code quality and technical debt. What's one coding practice that you absolutely refuse to allow in your projects?
Um, just as a general blanket statement, any kind of like crutches, like band-aids, like
Yes.
one that is a particular pet peeve. If you've worked at our company for any amount of time, you've probably heard me say something about it. But I actually vocally said to a whole bullpen of people, "Hey, uh, if you have the important statement in your CSS code,
Mhm.
I will not approve your pull request."
Mhm.
And so, just as a technical background on that, the important statement in CSS is it's like a nuclear bomb.
Mhm.
It says, because the way CSS, I don't want to get too in the weeds
No,
on this.
that's
The way
okay. Go ahead.
CSS works is it's cascading style sheets, and so it it applies styles over styles over styles, and certain styles supersede other styles. And
Okay.
I see a lot of I've seen a lot of younger junior developers who didn't understand how those styles apply and not understanding specificity rules.
Hmm.
They struggle to get their styles to show up the way they want. And so CSS has this lovely little nuclear bomb they've included in it called the important statement, which says these styles apply no matter what. It ignores all the rules, and if you put this into your CSS, it's highly likely that somebody's going to come behind you in a year and try to apply their styles and tear their hair out because they don't know you put an important statement in your sheet, and I've seen it cause people to lose hours of time, and that's money. You know,
Right.
time's money.
Absolutely.
So I mean, while hacks are cool, you know, and sometimes we need to use a hacky solution, it should never be the norm.
Right.
And it should always be mitigated as much as we possibly can. So like, hey, we got to get this done tonight so that we can
Mhm.
meet our production deadline. We're going to throw some hacky solution in, but we're going to come behind that. We're going to
And
clean it
fix
up.
it.
We're going to fix it. We're going to do it right.
Yes.
Um,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
it's about making sure that our code's maintainable in the long term, that people come by. That's
Yeah.
the code work. That's part of it. You know, we talked about understanding business requires part of it.
Mhm.
Making sure that people can come work behind you is a
Mhm.
really, really big part of it. A lot of time and effort gets lost, a lot of frustration, a lot of bad feelings because
Mhm.
people just throw these things over the fence. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we have to prioritize long-term architectural integrity over quick fixes and just getting things done.
Yeah,
I,
and on my and I guess with me, when I hear that, what I hear is exactly, it's okay every now and then to band-aid something, but for maybe just to get across the finish line, but always know to, hey, let's go back and fix that. I mean, we can hack it and fix it, but it may break. And we don't want that, because in the long term, it could be a nightmare and be hours and more investment. And we don't want to do that. So
Absolutely not.
let's fix the issue,
Yeah.
not band-aid
Yeah.
it.
And yeah, it's and a band-aid, yeah, it's when you throw something and you don't quite understand what you've done necessarily, or you're just trying to
Oh, it
get
can
it
be
to
a
work,
nightmare.
and it's a nightmare. It's a
Yeah,
nightmare to deal with. And so and sometimes we have to do non-optimal things. Sometimes there's just no choice,
right. Yeah.
for whatever reason, technical limitations, time constraints,
Mhm.
whatever. But if we do have to band-aid something like that, we need to mitigate
Mhm.
any unforeseen consequences of, or foreseen consequences. We need to do our best to mitigate those things, because those kind of crutches and band-aids I've seen cause some of the worst problems.
Right.
You're fighting with something for a month, and then you realize it's because somebody put something ridiculous in, and it all could have been avoided.
Yep.
It's massive cost loss for the customer. So
And I think that shows value in us, that we realize that due to our experience of going through that pain, and the customer having to go through that pain, we don't want that's not how we want to do business.
no, and we
That,
don't
right,
we have a lot of policies and procedures in place
yeah,
now to ensure that we're not just slinging stuff over the fence anymore.
right,
It's very, very, very long time ago we might have done things like that, but it was still frowned upon, and
sure,
it's not tolerated now. So um, I can assure you, we our code is dope.
yes, yes, it is, yes, it is. I agree, one
Thank
hundred percent.
you.
Okay, for our final question, what's the biggest shift coming to software development that people aren't talking about enough? And what advice would you give to developers who want to stay ahead?
It's AI again. I mean, and I know everybody's talking about it,
Right.
but um, I really do. I think some people have said it tongue in cheek. I think some people have recognized it, but I don't think we're going to be writing code the way we write code in maybe as soon as 5 years.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people have said that, and oh, they're coming for your jobs and whatever. But it. I think the good engineers that take to heart some of the things I've said before about understanding data, understanding design principles, understanding systems, understanding distributive models, strategic thinking, understanding business needs. Those are the things that are going to be important as software engineers in the coming future. Um, I really think those are things that new people should be looking at, and people in my position should be looking at. Um, yeah, we're not going to be writing code. We're going to be orchestrating systems with system prompts for the most part. Um, Companies, I think, should be focusing on system thinking and AI integration strategies. I think they should start thinking about that now.
Yep.
If you haven't been thinking about how you're going to integrate AI for your business needs, I think you should start engaging with that,
Mhm.
and talk to us. We'd love to help you with it.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's the future. Um, yeah, it really is just kind of everything we've talked about.
Yes.
Focus on communication, focus on understanding those systems, understanding the fundamentals of how these system works, um, and just really keeping an eye on what the industry pulse is going to be like,
Mhm.
coming down the line.
Get involved, read, learn, ask questions, come to people that do understand it, and, come to us. And, you may not work with us right off, but we can guide you in the right direction. That's what we want to do, to help people to understand. We want them to be successful in it. It's a wonderful thing, but they want to do the right thing,
Yeah,
for their business. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, that's all things that are fostered by the things we've talked about. So
Yes.
I think that, yeah, just yeah.
Thank you, Jared. This has been wonderful. I've learned a lot. I appreciate you sharing your insights and your experiences with us today. To our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about Focused Apps and our innovative solutions, please go out and check us out on FocusApps.com. And please give Jared a call at Focused Apps. I know that he would be happy to listen and also help you out in any way that he can. He is a wonderful person to be getting knowledge from, and he'll guide you in the right direction. So thanks for tuning in to Focus Apps, and we'll see you soon.